Hi there. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Delight Rogers. I'm a mixed media artist. I'm here in Northern Ontario, Canada. It is Sunday afternoon. We just finished doing a live session. It's a taster session that we did called Open Studio Self Portraits, and it's in celebration of the opening of the fall session of the Personal Portraits Workshop, which is my big workshop that I run twice a year. It runs for 6 weeks, and it's a pretty special event that involves basically sharing everything that I know about mixed media and all the tricks and techniques, and also how I create my mixed media portraits. And I will walk you through every step of the process and show you simple ways that you can get a face into your mixed media art, and also ways that we can make our mixed media art and our layers a lot more personal, almost like a time capsule, putting in personal things, mementos, letters, just a whole journey that we're going to take with mixed media. And that's what's going to be happening soon. Today we got together, we created a little mini 5x7 self-portrait. And I know, thank you so much to those of you who were able to join live. I know those of you who did join live, some of you were creating and didn't get to see what I was doing specifically, and a lot of people weren't able to make the live sessions. So here's a recording of what we did, and if you're joining back in with it pre-recorded, you'll be able to make sure that you have all the materials you need to create your own mini portrait, and hopefully you find lots of inspiration in the video. I go through some of the new materials I've been using and some ideas of where you can find materials and inspiration for your mixed media layers. I answer some questions about the personal portraits workshop in the recording, but make sure to reach out to me if you have any further questions, and check out the landing page that gives all the details and goes through all the frequently asked questions, and really shares what the whole journey of the personal portraits workshop is all about. So please take some time and check that out. I'm leaving the link in the notes here too, and enjoy creating, enjoy spending some time virtually with us. Have fun.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello, Delight.
Hello. Hello.
Oh, I'm seeing some familiar faces. Hi, Lizette.
Hi, Delight. Good to see you again.
Nice to see you. You changed your hair.
Yes, different color today.
Nice. So I'm probably going to give it a few minutes as people come in, but I'm glad you're here. It's a rainy and gray Sunday where I am, so I was kind of happy to have something fun to do inside.
We got sun down here,
Where are you?
um, just north of Toronto.
Oh, okay. Lucky you. We had it was freezing last night. It went to 0. We had to bring
Ooh,
plants in and
wow.
everything. Yeah,
Wow, I think it went down to 8 here.
right.
Well, we have our last summer day in the Netherlands today.
How was
Oh,
it your last, like a last official day?
No, it will be rainy and cold from tomorrow
Okay,
onwards. So
got it.
it was the last sunny day.
Nice. Hi, Linda. I'm seeing some familiar faces from past personal portraits sessions, so that's fun.
I did your blossoms.
Did you have fun with that?
I loved it. I loved it. My sister-in-law gifted me with it, and she's trying to get me back into doing my art. And I think it's working finally.
Good, good. Yeah, nothing better than art.
Yeah.
So while we're waiting for people to join, if anyone has any questions about what we're doing today, or about personal portraits, or just about anything, feel free. Ruth?
I do. I thought when I paid for the wings one, and actually I thought this was the wings one at 12 o'clock. So how does that work?
Yeah, I saw your message. I did reply. So you did you did register for the Wings workshop and you are in it. I did send you the link again. So it's a pre-recorded workshop that you can
Okay.
access anytime you want.
Oh, okay,
So
good.
what this is just a free taster session where I'm opening up my studio. We're going to do sort of like a fairly small activity just for fun. And it's mostly in celebration of my reopening my big workshop, Personal Portraits, which is open for registration now. So this is a chance to kind of sample a tiny bit of what we'll do in that workshop. But I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
And you still got the Wings workshop to do after.
Uh-huh, good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Beth, you had a question?
Yes, you record the session. Is there a place you can rewatch it
Yeah,
if you're
I
not a
am.
member yet?
Yeah, I'm recording it. I'm not sure. Originally, I thought I would just send out, which I may still do, just send out a private link to the people who registered so you can access it. But depending, I might just put it out on YouTube publicly. But one way or another, hopefully later on today, I'll share it. Unless I have to do a bunch of editing, and then it might be tomorrow.
That's okay.
Yeah,
I just want to say, like, sometimes you don't catch everything in the minutia so if
yeah.
I can go
Oh,
back
for
and look at
sure.
it. Sounds
And
good.
and I am going to try to keep today fairly just we're not going to get too deeply into anything. It's more just to get together, to create together and do something kind of fun and hopefully to answer questions too about personal portraits.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I was going to check the chat box here. Oh, Freebird from northwestern Canada, another Canadian. Hello. No camera mic. Yeah, I get that. Oh, Miriam from Belgium.
This, oh, wait.
Very nice. That's exciting. So if you do have questions, you can unmute and ask, or you can put them in the chat box. Once I'm creating, it's probably going to be easier if you unmute and just ask me because I might not see it in the chat box right away. I'm just going to take a minute and double check my email too because it's just me today. So I want to make sure I'm not missing anybody and leaving anybody trying to find their way in. Any other questions right now?
No question, Delight, but here's the a reminder of what I did when I was in your workshop.
Okay, I gotta zoom in on this. Hang on, so I can see it too. Spotlight. Let's see. Okay, I remember that now. I absolutely remember that. I have a photo of that.
I'm the
Nice.
little, yeah, you did take a photo of, I'm the rebel who kind of does my own thing and doesn't listen all the time.
That's okay. I think that's probably most of us that are creative, right? I'm not the best student either. As soon as I get an idea, I just want to run with it.
Yeah. But it was
So,
really fun doing it.
good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. In person's fun like that.
Yeah.
But that's the nice thing with Zoom is it's kind of it's that medium between in person and pre-recorded, but it's a chance to almost gather with people in person, but we're not limited by geography.
Yeah.
Yeah. And nice if the group's not too big either. And that's why with personal portraits, I don't know if how many people we'll have in the end, but I'm gonna cap it at 40 for sure. So it stays nice and small. Yeah, so everybody kind of so it feels like a community that way, not just a big event. So let's see, what time is it? So I'll probably just go ahead and get started, and I'm sure people will join in. If you want to have cameras on, I'd love to see your faces, but you don't have to. And like I said, if you want to ask questions, you can in the chat box, but it might be easier if you just unmute and ask me. So does anyone, did anyone or did most of you have a chance to create or to print a little portrait of yourself on cardstock or something that you're going to use? I'm seeing a no, I'm seeing a yes. So some of you do. So I just did one. So this is just a piece of cardstock and I used my inkjet printer and I'd found a really old photo of myself, and then I used my phone and took a picture of it. That I'm going to use. And if you are using an inkjet printer, if you don't have a fancy laser jet printer, what I do is I'll just use a spray, a silicone spray, or any kind of a sealant on top, so that when you are adding on whatever you're adding on, the water of it won't make the ink jet run. But I know some people say if you leave it long enough and it fully dries, you don't have to worry about it running anyway. I just wouldn't want to take a chance on that. Does anyone have any questions about that part? So with the idea that maybe we're going to co-create together. So if you have questions about what you might need to get started, I'm happy to answer them. But also if you're just going to hang out and watch, that's fine too. I'm just reading in the chat box here. Hi, Lori. I'm just reading your message. Pacific Northwest, smoky, yeah, sadly. Well, I'm glad you made it. People from all over, that's fantastic. Okay. Hi, Deborah. So
Hi.
what I have gathered, so I guess what I'll do, I think I'm going to flip my camera down for now and just show you what I have here. And then I might pop back up to my face again. I'll switch back and forth, I think. And I'm just going to take a minute and make it so I'm not flipped around here. There. And I'm going to spotlight myself. Okay. So yeah, at this point, if you have questions, it's probably better if you just unmute and ask, but I will try to watch the chat box. So I'll show you a few different things I have gathered here. So this was the one I did as a sample to promote this little gathering. I'm probably going to do something different today because I already did this, but this was, I had some fun with some new handmade papers that I got that I can share the links after if anybody's interested. This was some fun handmade paper that I got on Etsy. And then I am not a person who collects and dries flowers. I wish I was that person, but I'm not. But I did find a place, and I'll just share these, where you can, and I think it's on Amazon, and they're less than $10, and you can get a little card full of all these really beautiful dried flowers that are really fun to work with as well. So I can share links to that. And I used a few of those, and I'm not sure that I'll do that again today, but I wanted to share them in case you want to make one like this. I tend to create intuitively, so I don't know for sure what's going to happen today, but that's part of the excitement. Before I got started, I did a smudge. I kind of that's part of my ritual when I get going. I lit a candle. I picked a couple of flowers from a potted flower I had outside. And then I know that's sort of part of me knowing, okay, I'm getting into the creative zone. I've got my tea here and I'm ready to go. This is a picture of me. I'm wearing, I think I was probably 8 or 9, wearing my mom's skirt as a dress. And I have this scarf wrapped around me that I had to share because I still have it. And it's my favorite colors. I've saved it now. I guess that's, 45 years almost. I've had this scarf. So it's a favorite. I'm not going to add it in, but I do have some other little bits of fabric that I think I may use for today. So this is from a shirt of mine that I used to wear a lot, and recently I wore it and thought maybe I don't love it to wear anymore, but I don't want to give it up. So I've got the little piece of the lace part and then a little piece of the printed fabric, which you could see, I guess, on white a bit. So I'm sharing this with you just to give you an idea of the kind of things that I might use. Some of them like I said, the handmade paper and the dried flowers I found and purchased, but some things I think my favorite things are always the things I just kind of come across. I have little bits of a few special letters. They're really special. This one I've used parts of. I did a photocopy of it because I don't want to lose the letter. But some of them I'll actually use the original letter. I pulled a page out of an old dictionary I have, and I pulled out this page with the word nostalgia because that's kind of how I've been feeling lately. And I think that's probably fairly common this time of year in the fall because it's a sort of a familiar time when it's new beginnings, and whether we remember ourselves as kids going back to school or whether it was our own children going back to school, it's kind of a time for nostalgia. And I picked this from an old songbook, and it says "Son of My Soul" was the title of the song, which I really like too. So I may put little bits and pieces of those in, but because I'm working, so this is a 5x7 that I printed, so I'm going to have to be pretty conservative about what I put on it and how much I put on it. Okay, I'm going to share a couple more things, and then I may flip back up and talk to you for a minute before we get started. So I got organized because I knew that you didn't want to probably watch me get organized and sort through things. So I've got a little pot of gel medium that I'm going to use and I'll probably be able to use this for the fabric, for the flowers, for anything I use. The gel medium is pretty versatile that way. And then I've got these little drawers. So this is little bits of fabric, some pieces from there already, and some other little things. So that I got jewelry the other day that came in this gift bag, and I opened up the gift bag because I love that, and I may use a piece of that as well. And then I've got this little drawer, which is all little bits of translucent papers. So from sewing patterns, and this is another piece of handmade paper that this is a piece of, and I just love it because once you put it on, you'll see that it's almost, the only part that shows up are the thicker parts of the actual material that the paper's made out of. So those are little transparent pieces, translucent, not transparent. And what's in my last drawer? I've got 3 little drawers here. And this was some colored bits of paper. This was a clothing tag I had to save. I got it, I guess about 2 weeks ago now, and this was on the tag. She had a certain kind of vibe about her that made everyone want to know more. I love that. And even on the back of the tag, I just think this is hilarious. It says, "Don't be too reckless, no tag, no return, I'm yours forever." And I thought that could even be fun to have on your own little portrait, because it's got lots of deep meaning there. And another thing that I've been having fun with lately, and you can buy these little bits where you get little samples of really nice quality origami paper that's got nice gold print on it, and so it's high quality, and you get these little tiny pieces, so you get a sampling of different things to try out, and I've been having a lot of fun with those as well. And hopefully that's interesting to you if you're interested in mixed media and you're anything like me. It's always fun to see what people are using and to get new ideas of materials to use. Okay, I'm going to pop the camera back up for a minute. See everybody. Are there questions that anyone has at this point? It's very quiet. So maybe just like, oh, I've got a question. Thank you, Pat.
Thanks.
What's your question?
I wanted to ask, you were saying to use the stock paper and stuff for the
Yeah.
picture. What if we just have an actual photograph? Will it harm the picture at all?
Well, as long as you're going to use the photograph and you don't mind that it's going to be permanently changed, then I don't think it'll harm it. It should
No,
have
this
coating
was
on
a
it.
duplicate. It was a duplicate.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely fine. And I mean, it doesn't have to be cardstock. It's what I had, and I wouldn't normally do mixed media on cardstock. I'd probably use a heavier paper, like a watercolor paper, but for our purposes for this, I figured it's fine, and it's also something that most people I figure have. But yeah, photograph I think is a great idea.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah. So just if people can nod or wave and let me know how many people are planning on actually co-creating with me. Some of you? Okay, and some of you are just hanging out. Okay. All right. Well, I am going to go ahead and get started then, I guess, if no one has any questions. Oh, yeah. So if someone's saying they find they need to watch and then do, I get that. Okay. So the first thing I am probably going to do is take a few of my neutral papers that I have gathered here. And I'm not going to cover, I'm going to use some of these just in the background. And I know that they'll likely be covered somewhat and maybe be covered completely, but I still, for me, it's just sort of part of starting and part of warming up is this type of collage. It gets me going. And I start thinking about what I might want to do next. You can cut these papers or you can rip them. I tend to like to rip them. I've got a little paintbrush. Actually, I think I may use a bigger one for now. Use a little bit bigger paintbrush just so it goes on a little more quickly. So if you're new to this, I'll just explain a bit, and if you're not, you can just tune me out. I'm going to put a little bit of medium right on the paper. And then I also I'll put a little bit of medium on the back of the paper that I'm wanting to glue down. And with a heavier paper, you're going to need to use more medium. With this piece from the songbook, it's quite thin, so I'm not too worried about that. And I want it to be a little straighter if I can. Well, it doesn't want to be, and that's okay too. So I'm just going to put a few more on. I want to get my word nostalgia in there. Another thing I have that I may not have shared when I was going through my translucent papers is I have a couple used tea bags that I used in the sample that I did that I'll probably use again. And it's a nice way to layer on top of some of these neutral papers and just make it a little more interesting. Got one more piece of an old letter that I may add in. And really at this point I have no plan of what I'm going to do so much. I'm just kind of getting started and hoping that I'll get an idea as I go. In the sample I did, I ended up covering up the scarf that I was wearing in this that I really kind of like, and so this time around I'm going to try to keep it so that scarf's showing. I've got a piece of another thing I've been having a lot of fun with recently is just different handmade papers. And so I've got a piece of handmade paper that's got some leaves in it, and I'm going to put a piece of that down as well. Anybody who's either creating or just watching along, have anything they want to ask or share, I would love to hear from you. But no pressure.
Have you ever done jelly prints to
Yeah,
create
yes.
papers?
So a group that I'm a part of, a business mastermind, has some really avid and big name jelly printers. So I, from their encouragement, I've tried, and I've had some really neat accidental things happen, but for the most part, um, I need to spend a bunch of time getting comfortable with it, I think, before I would have success with making some really cool jelly print things like I see people making. But I think it would be, I would love to have the time to do that, and I'm sure I will soon, because it's nice to use those papers that you've made yourself, um, as opposed to buying things that have been made by somebody else. Are
And you
you
can go down that rabbit hole really far,
Pardon
really
me?
fast. You can really go down the rabbit hole fast with those.
So is that something you do?
Keep going and going and going. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's something you need to yeah, it seems like you need to spend some time and really figure it out. But I love some of the accidental things I've done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna
I've
take,
got just as much good prints off of my Brayer cleaning paper.
yeah,
Like
and
good
that's
layers of
something,
color.
that is something I do for sure. Is just
Mm-hmm.
I like those accidents like that. So I'm taking a bit more of the backing off this tag. I already had taken some off because it was quite thick, but if you're careful, you can usually pull a lot of layers off. And now I'm down to a really nice thin piece, and I don't know what I'm doing, so I don't, I don't really want this to get covered up, so I'm going to put it way over here where I can hopefully be fairly careful and not cover it, because I just think that's fun. To those of you just arriving, welcome. I'm glad you're here. We're just getting started creating our little mini self-portraits, and I am recording this so you can go back and check out what you missed in the beginning as well. So I'm going to take now just a few little pieces of a tea bag, I think. My idea being that I kind of want to know that the background is fairly set, and then I can start building the rest of it, the dress and whatever else I'm going to do. So another thing that I had wanted to do, I'm not sure if this is dry enough yet, it might be, is just do a tiny bit of journaling on here that I know, again, will be mostly covered, but just add it in. And I tend to like to do it in a way that it's not even really legible. So then I can kind of write anything I want and not worry about, having my private thoughts out there for everybody. Now where it's a bit wet, it's not going on very well. And I can certainly do some more writing later on. I just wanted to do, I had a little message I wanted to put on there. I'm just looking at what I've got for translucence. I think I will just stick to the tea bag. It's thin enough that it doesn't need a lot of medium, and it's porous enough that you can even kind of put the medium on top and it'll go right through. I drink a lot of mint tea, so my tea bags all end up looking pretty much like this one, and this seems to be the mint tea effect, which is in some ways nicer than a darker tea because the staining is kind of minimal. So it was covering my message at the bottom here, so I just kind of wrinkled up the bottom of the tea bag to not cover it. So over here, I'm just wondering if I want to have more there, if I want to do something really different there. I'm not sure, but I think what I'm going to do is just put up another little piece of the handmade paper. In a way, of course, I don't want to cover the face. And I may do something again like I did here. I just had so much fun uh, building the hair out of little bits of dried flowers that I might do that again. Okay. I am going to flip my camera one more time and just see, because I know some people have arrived. At least I heard some doorbells. Is everybody good out there? Anyone creating something that they want to share what they're doing so far, or we're not there yet? Oh, let's see. Is that something you're creating, Beth? I'm seeing a not yet.
I'm cutting out some witches for a
Okay,
Halloween mixed
nice.
media.
I thought that looked like a
Halloween
witch
thing.
flying by. Okay, all right. Well, I'll switch back to what I was doing then. Oops. So this is where I want to be a little more careful, because I really want to make sure that I don't cover the scarf this time. So I've got one thing I thought about was using some of these little bits of origami paper. And then I've got these fabrics. And what else? So I'm going to put aside the letters for now. And then I've got these little bits of fabrics too. So these are probably the two bins I'm going to work from right now. This is a piece of wool, but I think that would be a little too 3D for such a small thing.
That's all right.
Delight, I have a question.
Yes.
If you're doing something, I just, from what you just said about it's too small to have something that's so 3D. If you're doing a bigger one, can you do something like feathers on there?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, you could on here, and I think this is more like a personal preference of mine, that I don't like to do really bulky items on small pieces. But
Right.
that's really probably just a personal thing of mine.
And if you're doing something like a feather or a bulkier item, do you do both under and over the
As
item?
far as the medium, is
Yeah,
that what
like a
you
the
mean?
feather,
Yeah, I'm
if
just
you're
gonna
putting a feather
show
down.
you. It'll depend on what it is. So I brought down a couple in case I got asked. So there I put a earring on, so you can kind of, hopefully you can see it's 3D. And so I
Yeah.
didn't do anything on top because I wanted it to keep the shine of the
Oh, okay.
actual the piece of jewel or bead or whatever it was. But with some things, for example, in this one, I knew I didn't want anything to leak and get on these, so for these pieces I did a thick layer of the medium on top to make sure that they
Oh,
stayed like I wanted them to. Does that make sense?
yeah. I'm just trying to think of the feather if I want to put any medium on top because I think I'd like
Yeah,
that softness to be there.
I don't. It would depend. I mean, if you put medium on top, it's almost going to look like it's wet, right? So it'll depend
Yeah.
on the effect you want it to have, I guess,
Oh, okay.
with the feather. I think I even put some feathers in here. We could always experiment with one. Yeah, I've got some little feathers. But what'll happen is if you just want to attach it on and have it stay fluffy, you could just use medium on the base of it and leave it fluffy. But if you put medium
Right.
across the whole thing, it's going to look quite wet and have a really different look to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
I'll chime in here on the,
Yep.
I'm having trouble getting myself illuminated here, so I'm sitting in the dark like I'm in interrogation. If you, I frequently, when I'm putting stuff on, will do a test piece on the side. So if it was the feather, if I have a few feathers, I'll try it just at the bottom, all the way on the back, and then putting it all across. And I might like all three effects, but only like one for the particular piece that I'm working on.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a good idea to test it out first for sure.
Thanks a lot.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm looking at here is I'm trying to figure out if there's a little piece of this handmade paper that kind of naturally would work as the scarf, but I'm not finding it. So I'm going to look into origami paper here. So, and with this as well, I mean, if you wanted a nice clean line, I would recommend cutting this, but I don't tend to want clean lines. I'm just kind of seeing what happens with different things. So I've got a couple little pieces that I'm going to use, I think, as the scarf that hangs down, but I'm not going to put it on yet because I'm going to want things to go underneath it. But I know I've got these two little pieces that I can use. And I can probably also take a piece for the part around the neck. Yeah, so I'm gonna set those aside. So I'm just going to dive in on this. I feel like if I start to think about what I'm going to do, I might get in my head about this, especially since I'm creating live with everyone. So I'm just going to start putting things on and see what happens, because I know I want to build a dress. And I'm thinking I want to make the dress as a combination of the different types of papers and the pieces of fabric that I pulled out as well. I've been making a lot of really small art this summer. Last summer, yeah, all I wanted to make was really big canvases. I did a 5 foot by 5 foot square and a 4 foot and a 6 foot, and for whatever reason this summer I've just wanted to make little things. So I've been having fun with the little origami papers and the washi tape, and it's been really different. I'm not sure why I feel that differently about how I'm creating, but I'm not questioning it. I've just been going with it. Um, I've got this as a little piece of handmade paper, and just to kind of, I like how I've got the gold dots going here, and some different little patterns, and I'm going to add one more on that's a bit more neutral, and then I'm going to switch over and start playing with some fabric, I think. And you could absolutely just take a piece of paper, fabric, whatever you want, and build whatever you're doing clothing wise out of a solid piece. I just tend to like to build it with these little pieces. On this one, I did one big piece, and then I added little parts on, and then added some flowers on. But the dress was all one piece originally. I'm going to use scissors to cut some of this fabric. I'm not paying attention to the shapes of what I'm cutting. Really, I want them to be organic and kind of messy. So my idea here is that I'm going to take these little bits of my old favorite shirt, and I'm going to have it be kind of little bits and pieces of the bottom of this dress. Hopefully you can see it well enough. And I'm not going to glue it down fully at this point. I'm just going to glue the top pieces of each part so that I've still got room that I can add things underneath or on top. Because if I glue the whole thing down, then I have to work around it. So I'm going to loosely use the shape of the dress to shape these pieces of fabric. And if I were doing this and being, I would probably be using a heavy gel medium to stick these fabric pieces on. But for right now, I'm not too worried. This is going to be strong enough to hold them down, at least for now. And if I feel like it's not strong enough later on, I can use some heavy gel medium to make sure it's really solid. So I'm doing it down here because I'm thinking I'm going to have something else kind of drape over top, and then this part's gonna show up underneath. That's the vision. Okay, a little tiny bit more. Oh, maybe I've got a piece right there. All right, so now I want to figure out what I'm going to put on top. I'd thought about maybe um, using a piece of this handmade paper. Not sure color wise. That could be fun. Well, I'm going to work with this piece that's the shape, which means I'm going to need a little bit more coverage over here. And I don't know if I want to go back to the same fabric or if I want to break out and do something different. Well, since we have this feather out and we were talking about feathers, I'm going to pop this feather in there. But again, I'm just going to glue down the top of it. Okay, so this is really fun. This is not anything I was imagining, but I like it. So I'm just gonna bring it up the camera for anyone who's interested. So I've got a little bits of the lace and the sheer fabric. Got a feather now. Got this, and then at the top here, I've got some little tiny pieces of origami paper. Now I may use a little piece of this on top now. Oops. That's so fun. Okay. So this just kind of naturally looked like the right shape for here. So I'm going to put it right on top. And I've still only glued down the tops of everything. But I kind of like how it's left it really three-dimensional that way. I added this little bit of the jewelry bag on top. So it's getting pretty wild now. Okay, so now am I going to be able to go back? This scarf is just maybe not meant to be. I think the scarf is not meant to be. Gonna have to let that go. But maybe I can do something so I've got the collar, like the top part of the scarf. Yeah, I guess no scarf. I'm pretty happy with that. That's usually one of the most fun parts for me is building the clothing. I'm just wondering about putting these on as a bit of an edge to the dress. And this is where it's nice that I've left it open because I can reach in here and and add things in from underneath. I'm going to use what I had set aside as the scarf and just tuck them in as layers of the skirt. Okay. So I'm going to switch back to looking at what I want to do around the figure. And then I think the hair would be the very last part. Any questions, comments, anything happening out there that's exciting to share? Right now, I'm going to take actually a bit of white gesso. And I'm going to put, this glass here is actually my palette. I'm going to put a little bit on my palette. And I'm just going to go around the figure and because I'm really not sure what I'm going to do next. So this is going to buy me a bit of time and I can kind of mellow out some of the stuff in the background. So by doing this, you can cover it a lot or a little. Sometimes I'll water down my gesso so that it's not as opaque, and can also use a rag and blot some off. Because I love all my layers with the mixed media. I don't ever want to really fully cover them up, but sometimes I want them to blend in a bit to the background or blend with each other a bit more. So I added a bit of water just so you can see I can squirt a bit of water and then take even more of it off if I want to. What's nice when you do that is it sits into the wrinkles or the lines of your layers, so it accentuates them a bit more. So as I'm doing this, I'm having a spontaneous thought that I want to just dab a bit of paint on, some paint color as my next step. So I'm looking at the colors I have. I've got sort of some light blue and some burgundy and green and gold. So got a turquoise green, maybe a bit of burnt sienna. Got a little iridescent gold. Yeah, maybe I want to find a green as well. This is a green I've been using a lot lately that I love too, the golden green gold. It's really nice and translucent too. Yeah, I think I might just use my finger and kind of don't really know what I'm doing. I just want to add some color in here and there. Knowing that whatever I put on top, the color is going to show through a bit. This one, I'll use a brush. Just going to look back to what I did here. I think with this one, I used a sepia ink to kind of make everything in the background blend in a bit with the tea bags. So how it works with the personal portraits workshop is it's 6 weeks, and we'll have a class once a week every Saturday for about 2 hours, where we'll kind of go step by step through creating the mixed media portrait. And the portrait itself, you don't need to know how to paint a portrait. We'll do transfers, photo transfer. I'll show you how to do that right onto your canvas so that can get into all the fun parts of the mixed media layers and learning how to paint and create the faces without having to worry about drawing all the features of the face and getting everything really nice and balanced. And then twice a week I'll hold what I'm going to call, I used to call them meetups, but I'm going to call it an open studio, where we'll get together, we can co-create like this. People will be able to ask questions about what we're working on and share what they're doing, and get feedback, not only from me, but from the group, because everybody brings in lots of expertise. And and then at the very end on week 6, we'll get together when everyone's done and share what we've created. And a lot of it, I'm especially going to focus in for the fall session on making it really personal, like finding those items that are meaningful to you, whether it's, colors, keepsakes, special things you've written, but to really make them nice and personal. It can almost end up being like a time capsule. And this Zoom room that we're in right now is open, and I'm able to keep it open now, so it can it'll be open 24/7. So if you ever want to come in and link up with anyone else who's in the workshop, you can come in and co-create with them, or come in early before class, stay later, which is kind of neat. And I've got all sorts of different techniques and materials. I've shared a few of the materials with you that I'm going to be exploring this time around. So now I was talking, I wasn't really paying attention to what I was doing very much. And sometimes that's really good, because then I'm not careful, not thinking or overthinking. So now I've just got some paint on here. Gonna put some gold on too. We've got a lot of gold. I'm going to use a little piece of handmade paper that I think I want to put on here somewhere anyway, and I'm going to put some of that gold right on the paper to blot it out from the substrate, but also to add some paint and color onto this paper. Okay. I think I'm going to go ahead and just put that right on there. So you can see whoever asked me about the feather, I'm getting medium on this feather, and that's what I was saying. If it gets wet like that, it's gonna really change how it is. So I don't love it as much anymore, but that's okay. I'm taking a little tiny bit of sepia acrylic ink, and I think I'm just gonna put it underneath the skirt so that down here it's not so white. Getting a little bit on my brush. No, I had gesso on this brush and gold paint, so it's a bit of a mix. I'm still trying to not obscure the writing on this little tag. Holy, we're already an hour in. I thought this would take me an hour. Well, hopefully nobody's in a big rush. But I guess if you have to leave, and you can check back in and watch the recording after. Okay, so I think I'm going to really switch gears now and move on to putting on a few dried flowers. The only thing I'm not sure about it in the dress is here. I feel like I want a cleaner line across here, but I may do that later with a gold marker. So I think I'll just leave it for now. Got this little, I had a few buttons I thought I might use as well, but I don't think I will. Not sure. So I'm gonna just sort of lay some things out and see how they look. And I guess I could probably even use a flower to cover up the parts on the dress as well. These are really fun. I don't know if anyone dries their own flowers, but kudos to you if you do. I'm not that patient, but I love that I found a way to have them anyway. So I think I'm just gonna lay some things out and then decide what I like, and then I'm able to just use the medium, and I'm not putting medium so much on top of the flowers, just underneath. At least that's what I did last time. Well, I really like the look of these little ones. I think I'm going to put a couple across the top of the dress. And I've got enough medium there that I think I can just probably press them down. Very fun. These turquoise flowers caught my eye. One of those I could, instead of doing a bunch of different things, I could have one dramatic one. As I'm doing this, I'm also keeping in mind that I'd wanted to do something with the hair, but I'm nothing's jumping out at me as working really well for that. Not yet anyway. So to put these on, if you wanted, I don't know if anybody has dried flowers, but at some point you are doing that, you could just put a fairly thick layer of the medium and just set it on top. And you can press it in. You can use a brayer and parchment paper. You could roll a brayer to press it down and make sure it's nice and flat. What I'll probably do afterwards is put a piece of parchment paper on top of this whole card and put a book on top and let it just flatten out and press down. How is everyone doing? Oh, I see a question. Um, so with the dried flowers, what I would do, what I did with the other ones is I used a silicone spray as a fixative, like to give them a coating, that made them sort of, well, a plastic coating so they're a little less fragile. And then I would put a varnish across the whole piece, including those flowers, so that they're protected. So that's what yeah, that's what I've done on this one. So you can, like, these are solid now, and they've got like a good coating on them. Yeah, I'm backwards in my camera, sorry. But yeah, so silicone spray, or really carefully with a varnish, give them a coating, just them, so that they're solid and protected, and then treat them like the rest of the surface when you're doing a varnish, if you do a varnish at the end. I don't know if that's helpful or not.
You like?
Yes.
I found that when I use the dried flowers in some of the work that we've done before, I put it on to glue it onto tissue paper first. And between the tissue paper and the medium that I'm using, it makes it stiff and less delicate when I go to apply it to the substrate for the picture.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But then I guess you have that layer of tissue that'll kind of change how it sits on your surface, though. So it won't be
It
quite
it doesn't the tissue that I use it a lot on the background of stuff, and it doesn't seem to change anything for me other than allow me to work with it without having to hold my breath for fear
yeah,
of ruining it.
that it's gonna break or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. That's something I'm just exploring. I've been hesitant to use organics like that, just because they are a little more fragile, and I also worry if they're going to, I don't know, biodegrade over time. But I think if you've given them a really good coating of a
Yeah, I put the medium on the top of it too. Glue it onto the tissue, put the medium over the top of it, and then I varnish it with a UV protectant varnish.
yeah, yeah, which is exactly what I did. And hopefully you can see now, even on this big flower here, it had enough of a varnish on it that I painted right on top of the flower as well, which was fun. So if you have just like what we've talked about in some of the other classes, if you have a nice even surface of medium on top of the flowers, just like fabric, just like anything else, then you can paint on it and draw on it and do all those kind of things as well. So with my card I've done, does anyone have anything that they're working on they'd be willing to, they want to share, would be willing to share? Oh, I see Susan.
Let's see,
I'm going to spotlight you.
can you see that? I'm working at a furious pace, first time here. And one question I have is that the colors, the value of the colors is bolder than the face. And I wonder what you do. I mean, I could go in with markers or something like that to pull that forward.
So when you say pull that forward, you mean to have the colors around the face kind of not as vibrant?
Or bring the face out a little bit, maybe a little something around the eyes or the lips.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good question. And that's something that I want to show you, and I'll maybe take a minute right now. So I'm going to flip my camera again. So mine actually, oh, I got him backwards again. I gotta fix that. So this one I ended up printing it, and it's got a bit of a sepia tone, so it's got some skin tone. So this might be a better example to show you. What I'm gonna pull out is some markers. for something like this, I think markers are a great choice because you've got a lot more control than you do with paint. I ended up getting this pack of basically different colors. I think it was a 6-pack that you can use to create faces and skin tone with. That I've had a lot of fun with. So I'm pulling most of them out. So I can show you what I'm doing here, but you can do it with any markers you have, any paint pens, and you can certainly do it with paint as well. It's just with something small like this, markers are handy. And then you could just, let's say you wanted to add some color to the cheeks. You could take some
Mhm.
sort of a pink and just, I
Yeah.
tend to dab a bit on and then,
Mhm.
oh, not so much with that. I'm gonna water that down a bit and just kind of move it around because you just want a bit of it, right?
Mhm. What kind
And
of
then
markers are those?
these are Faber-Castell.
Okay.
They're Pitt artist pens. Um, and you can get them pretty much anywhere, and I can give you that information after. But this was a little pack that's all the skin tones. I'm not doing a very good job here. But you can add, I like to add a bit on and then either use water or my finger or both to take some off again. If you wanted to accentuate, let's say I don't want to wreck this face. Where's something else I can show you? Well, I guess but if you wanted to add uh more details in, maybe the black, the shapes, you could take the black and just dot in a bit more of what you want. And I dot it and move it as opposed to drawing the whole line. On the black, if you're working with black and white, like this one, you can add some color in. You can mix these together a bit. So you can actually, if you're working with black and white, you can give it some skin tone. But any paint pens will do. These just happen to be the ones that I just got. So you can see, maybe you can see in that one where I've taken the black and white face and given it a bit of color. And then this one, I overdid it a bit. I'm seeing if I can take some off. With everything being water-based, you can kind of work backwards and take things off if you need to. And if you wanted to do things with the hair, you can go in again with markers and add some highlights in if you want. I like I said, with things this small, I like to use the markers. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea.
Thank you.
And I'm blending with these right with the markers, even just like I would with paint. No, things weren't dry enough. And so I haven't fixed things down here a lot yet. What I may do, and maybe I'll record it and share it with you as well. So when this is a bit more dry, I'm going to take a gold pen. I'll show you the one that I like to use. These are another favorite of mine for paint pens, the Posca pens, and this is an extra fine gold. And that's the one that I used for all the dots and details on this one. And I'll probably go in and do some defining in here. And I may paint right on the flowers too. I haven't put a coating on top of these flowers yet of medium, but once I do and I flatten it down a bit, I'll go back in and I'll record it and I'll add it to the recording so that I can share it with you. Who else has things they've done? Pat, did you end up creating?
I decided this time to just listen.
Okay. And was it worthwhile just listening?
Absolutely. I was right into it. I was like, do this, do that. I was
Oh,
trying
is
to tell
that
you.
right? That's awesome. Well, good.
Yeah, it was cool. I'm glad I just watched for a change. I don't think I had enough stuff around that I wanted to use just yet, but it's giving me ideas.
Yeah, well, that's part of it is just to get those ideas. It's like it's so good to see what other people are doing. Jenny, you've got one to share there? No?
It's completely different.
That's okay. I love that. I like your words. Very fun. And is that a picture of you in there too?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Perfect. Perfect. I like that. So you didn't make the person the
Well, I'm
center
trying
of it
out
all.
how to add something to me. I don't know if I can. I'm trying.
Make yourself a fun outfit.
Say that again?
You could build yourself a fun outfit out of some
Yes.
papers or
I was
fabrics.
trying to do. I'm pulling out. Yeah, I wasn't so prepared. I have a million things in this room, but I can't find any fabric. I'm gonna keep looking.
Perfect. Well, I love that. Absolutely love that.
And
Yeah.
I love what you did. I would like to be more that way, but I go back to the words all the time. I don't.
Yeah, well, we all have, our preferences and we also go through phases. I mean, I've certainly gone through phases where I have lots of words in my art, but lately not so much.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And I mean, it was easier for me because I'd taken quite a bit of time ahead to be organized with my materials, um, so that I was a little more time efficient. Because normally I would probably do a lot of getting up and down and rooting through drawers and finding things I wanted. So yeah, yeah. Who else did some creating? Ruth, you did? Oh, and Lori after. We'll come back to you, Lori, in just a sec.
I got the background started. Um, I did want to put an angel in there, and I have a feather from my cockatoo, um, and some of that. But yeah, I have a lot more things I want to add, and I think I'm going to make it about being retired. And even though I've been retired for a long time now, and I'm going to, instead of just making a copy of this, I'm just going to add this whole thing right on top of it, my card, my from being retired.
I absolutely love that. And I love that you're going to put the original right in there. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, and it has little sayings about art. It says, "Go make art. It's good for you. Immerse yourself in the magic of art."
Beautiful. That's beautiful. And I know you were thinking we were making wings. So you probably weren't quite as prepared with a portrait or anything. So that's
Right.
amazing. I love that. And where is Lori?
I'm not sure why you
There you
can't.
are. You were under my chat box. Let me.
I just made a dress for me because I just had a headshot. So I just made a dress out of gel prints.
Okay.
Gel
That's
print
very fun.
dash
Yeah.
so far. So but I have a question about the class, the portraits class, and
Yes.
is it going to be like all using photographs to
No, no, and I just saw that question in the chat box there. Not at all. Well, we won't do anything like this where we're creating right on a photograph or on a copy. Some people choose to do their portrait freehand, but what I show you in the workshop is we'll enlarge a big picture of ourselves, and then using a transfer paper, we'll do an outline on an outline of the face, so the shape of the face, the features, right onto some mixed media layers on a canvas. And so you've got the head start of the outline of the face, but beyond that, we're creating it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because then, I mean, yeah, if you're comfortable doing portraits and you want to do it freehand or you want to explore that, then absolutely. But for someone who wants to make a mixed media portrait and you don't want to have, that learning curve of learning how to draw the face, we can transfer it on, but all you've got is the outline. So you can do the painting yourself. You can add the mixed media in and all of that right onto the portrait. I see you've got a portrait on your wall back there. Is that one that you made?
Yeah, I've got a bear and my dog and then the lady over there yeah, that was a freehand.
Amazing. Yeah.
All of them were, but so yeah, I just seemed to like gravitating towards portraits for some reason, but so I want to explore it more. So, and I love what you do. I just love the whimsical and yeah, it's so cool.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and I mean I'm the same with faces. Even when I try not to do faces, they want to get made. They want to be on there. Yeah. And the transfer is fun. And another thing that I'll show you in the personal portraits workshop is how you can use multiple reference photos and kind of make some changes so it's not just a straight copy of one photo. And if you're doing it of yourself, then maybe it's multiple photos of you, but so you can change angles, lighting, just things to kind of customize it more, which is pretty fun too. Yeah. Um, who else has got things they've been creating? Deborah, I thought you might.
I actually started yesterday when you said that we were only going to have like 30, 40 minutes, less than an hour to work. And so I was like, oh my God. And because I would be running back and forth to boxes and drawers too. So I took an old board that I had and it is covered with a tissue paper copy of my birth certificate, a haiku that I wrote. And then when I was growing up, we would, in our family, when someone passed away, we memorialized them with, what are these things called? Bird of Paradise. And so I put that on there. And then you were with the Flower Fest, right? I don't know if anyone else was. There was somebody in there, Francesca had in the background, I think what she calls kneading. And I had several pieces of baby wipes that I had saved with ink on them. And then in addition, on top of it, these are drawings that I did when I was a child in my first grade alphabet book. So there's a lemon tree here and there's a house here. And I put them all down and stitched them together and then distressed it so that if part of it fell out and then stiffened it with medium. And that's going to go on top of here. But then me, the portrait, this is actually also, this is a picture of me in grade school, but this is a drawing I did, as is this that's going to go with it. These are all drawings that I did in first grade. And one of the things we also used to do when I was a child was my father was an art and art history teacher and was absolutely fascinated with Japanese paperwork and origami. So we used to make the origami samurai hat and the paper cups and the cranes, and those are going to go on here as well.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so mine's a lot different than what I did before, like in portraits or with the wings or anything else. But it just evolved, and I pulled out. I've had this book in a peachy folder since, here I am in 70 years young, and these are my first grade pictures. So I kept them and took some out and used them. I'm using them for this. I'm having The only thing I found was that the photocopies were fading. So like when I distressed this paper, I had to go back in with watercolor, water soluble pencil, and excuse me, I colored back in where I'd lost some of the color of the house and whatnot. So that's where I'm at.
Wow.
Completely different.
I think you need to gather us and run your own co-create session so that we can make what you're making. That looks like so much fun.
Well, the fun thing was the more important, I think, than this actual workshop for me was I went back through boxes of photos that I haven't looked at in years. And I had all kinds of ideas. I thought of doing a baby one, but I wasn't ready to take scissors and cut up. My mother gave me my christening outfit and my infant outfits and shoes, and I wasn't ready to take scissors to those. So I scrapped that idea, and then I had other ideas as well. But I have been through half a dozen boxes in the last several days since signing up for this course. And then yesterday said, okay, pick one and get down to business. And so I did.
That's fantastic. Well, I hope you'll have to share.
I will. I'll put your regular site is we can post it on there, right?
Yeah,
Your
you can put it in the Facebook group site.
Yeah.
There is going to be a new one within the Course Hub, like a community in there that we're going to use in addition to or instead of Facebook going forward with the new workshop. But yeah, the Facebook group will still be there, and I'd love to see what you do because that looks really interesting. Yeah, that's fun. Does anyone else have anything they created to share? No questions? So yeah, what time is it? I probably will, now that it's almost dry, try to finish this. And if people want to stay on and keep working, you're welcome to. And I will record it and I will share it because I know there's a lot of people who weren't able to actually be here live today that are hoping to see it as well. And I don't know, someone had a question about starting with the inkjet photo. Not at all. This was brand new to me to start with the face already printed, like the photograph to begin with. That was something I'd never done before, but it seemed like a nice, simple way to be able to do this with everyone today, where we kind of already had the portrait on the page and we could just do some of the fun stuff. But no, that's not normally how I would do it at all.
Thank you, Delight. I gotta go move stuff.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining, and it was nice to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye.
So are people pretty much done creating at this point? Looks like it, eh? Lizette, what are you doing there? I'm calling you out. Are you making anything there?
I was working on my how do you say it? Logbook with all inspiring photos of paintings and exhibits I've been. So that I was cutting and gluing all the time.
Oh,
So I
okay.
just prepared dinner and had dinner with my boys. So
Nice.
that's
Yeah,
how
I
it was
guess
sent.
it's a lot later there.
Yeah, it's evening here.
Yeah.
So
All right. Susan, did you want to ask me something or share something? Oh, you're muted right now.
Sorry.
There.
No, I think I was working with turning, just having my face visible to say goodbye.
Got it. Yeah.
But no, I think I learned a lot. It was fun. Didn't know what I was doing, but it's been fun. I'm enjoying just having this little outfit that I'll go back into and do the kind of details. I didn't get to see so much what you were doing because I was trying so hard to listen and keep creating, but it's been really, really fun. So thank you.
Good. Oh, you're so welcome. I'm glad you joined in, and I will share the recording so you can go back and see what I'm up to.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will do that. Thank you.
Okay,
I'll-
take care.
I'll sign off now. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, so at this point, it probably makes the most sense that I'll just keep doing this, record it separately and share it unless anybody else wants to ask me anything about this, about personal portraits. All right. Well, thank you so much to all of you for joining me. And
Thank
you're welcome.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, and if you're part of the Creative Delight Studio Facebook group, I would love for you to go in and share with us what you created, if you were creating today, see what you made. Yeah. And okay, well, enjoy
Thank
the
you.
rest of your day. Okay.
You
Good to
too.
see you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thanks for your time. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Good
you.
seeing you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.